Hey everyone, in today's video we're going to learn how to make a fondant cosmos flower. So I've got some 24 gauge wires in white and I've got some yellow flower paste. We're going to make a hook over the wires, so I've just taken one strip and I've divided it into three. I usually tend to do more than what I need just because I end up picking one that I feel looks better than the other. So we're just going to flatten the top, and this is going to create the centre. And then if you've seen me make flowers before, you know that I use a candle just to burn the wire so that when it goes in, it dries to the bud quite quickly. So you're going to pop the wire in and then twist it to one side just to make sure that it's fully attached. And then you're just going to take off any excess off the bottom and make sure that it's really, really flat. So you should have something that looks like that. So again, a small piece of fondant, just twisting it between your fingers to create a cone shape, and then popping the wire in and just twisting. Now, it's not a problem if the wire is at the top of the fondant and you see it slightly through, because we're going to add some detailing onto the top and some shading anyway. So you can see that that's the kind of shape that you're going for. And just with a balling tool, supporting the base of the centre, you're just going to mark in some little lines. So here's the three that I've done. And then just with some tweezers, we're just going to pinch at the top of the centre. And this is just going to give us a really uneven finish, which is, if you look at the centre of those flowers, that's what they're like. And then we're going to roll out some fondant. Now I've coloured this one in baby pink, and I've just put a tiny little bit of brown in there. And we're going to roll it so it's quite thin. And then we're going to use our cutter to cut some of the petals out. Now there are 8 petals on a cosmos flower. So usually I tend to try and do 9 if I can. And so that then if I break one, I've got an extra one to replace it with. So just cut out your 8 or 9 flowers. And then we're going to pop them to one side just on a mat. And I would cover them with a piece of plastic, so like a wallet. And then we're going to do the twiddle method on the wire. So just a tiny little bit of fondant, and you're just going to rub your fingers back and forth over that until it covers the wire, taking off any excess from the top. Now I dipped my wire in a little bit of water. And then we're just going to frill the edges of these flowers. And then we're going to place the wire onto the mould, and then we're going to press it in, and there is the flower attached. I've got an apple tray, and I'm just going to pop that in there and leave that to dry. And now you're going to do that with the same method with all the other petals. So again, a little bit of fondant, and you're going to twiddle that onto your wire. And the twiddle wants to come, I would say maybe 3/4 of the way up the petal. And you're just going to place the petal on top. You don't need any water. And just give it a firm push, and that's going to attach both of those. And again, just popping it in your apple tray, bending the wire slightly. So you're going to place the petal in the apple tray, and then you're just going to walk your fingers up, and that's going to bend the wire. So now I've got some smaller wires. These are 28 gauge, and we're just going to chop it into little pieces. And this is what we're going to use to make the pollen. So I've got some corn flour, and I've just added in a bit of yellow. I'm going to mix that all in. So you'll notice that it's still quite clumpy, and that's fine because we want it to sort of add a bit of a clump onto the end of the wire. And then I've just got some edible glue, and we're going to dip the wire into the edible glue and then into the pollen that we've just made, and just pop these to one side to dry. So I'm popping them in the polystyrene that I'm keeping the buds on, or should I say the centres. And you're just going to do this for all of these wires. And then once they're all dry, we're going to stick them into the centre. So you're going to trim off some of the end and just pop it to one side. Now I've just wet my centre just with a little bit of water, and that should keep the wire in place. And then with your tweezers, you're just going to pop it in. So you can see it's just adding an extra dimension to what we've already created with the texture. And you're just going to work your way around the whole entire centre for this, going around the edges first. So just pushing them in, making sure that they don't come out of the sides of the flower. You want them to stay within the centre that you've made. Using your fingers just to push it in if needed. So once these are dry, and these have been drying for about half a day, you're going to hold the petal at the base and you're going to bend the wire back to a 90-degree angle. And you're going to do this with all of the flowers and then pop them to one side. Going to get some white tape and your centre, and you're going to place the flowers around the centre. So you can see that I've positioned them, and I'm going to do 2 at a time. And you're going to work your way, just fitting them in and just wrapping the wire around. Pushing them into place. Make sure that the wire's tight enough so that the flowers, the petals don't move too much. You still want a little bit of movement so that once it's all in, you can move it around into the position that you want it. So you'll have to overlap some petals to get them in. And try to keep the tape all at the top of the centre at the moment, at the top of the wire. You can see I'm just pushing them into the position that I want them to be in. And just twiddling them around. And so the last one goes in, and you can see that the flowers are moving a little bit, and I'm just going to start to taper that down. And then we're going to push the petals into place. Now this is the time where you could bend the wires slightly, making sure that you've got them all spaced out quite well. Pushing them up a little bit. And then we're going to trim the excess off our wires and take off the excess tape. So here's what you should have once you've taped them all together. And then next we're going to dust. Now I dusted like this and then didn't press record on the camera. So I did an extra petal, and I'm just going to show you what I did. So I've got some pink dust, and I'm going to start by brushing that up from the centre of the petal outwards. So all of the darker colours want to be more in the centre of the petal rather than on the outer edges. And so I'm just got some like a deep purple, and I'm just really focusing on some of those creases that have come from the vena. So you can see here's the flower that I have already dusted, and so you can see I'm just trying to match that to what I've already done. And we're going to put some green in there as well, not a lot, but just a little bit of green mixed in. And you're just going to shade it until you've got a shade that you're happy with. So some green around the edges and some darker colours around the centre. And obviously you won't have the flower to match it to, but because I'm trying to replicate that same colour, I'm just showing you the flower against the petal that I've done. Now if it's easier for you to dust the petals before you add it all on, then feel free to do that. And then with the centre, all I've got a little bit of brown and a little bit of yellow, and I'm just dusting around. Now obviously I've got the extra bits here on the actual flower, but you would just still use that same method and dust the extra bits of pollen as well. So just dusting in the centre. This is how I did it when it was all together, and I prefer to do this because you've got a better look of what it looks like when it's all together. And so once you've done, you can let the flower sit. They're quite quick and easy flowers to do with these. So you could do quite a few at one particular time, and they're quite effective as well. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to leave a comment down below. and hit like. And if you'd like to see more of my videos, please click the links on the screen now. Thanks for watching.